Welcome back to the show where we run you through all the Dolphins news you need to know about. After you through the news you need to know about, we run you through the fan Q&A where we answer fans' questions. A lot to break down on the show, obviously. But we'll start with the news you need to know about. But I think the excitement of the fan base and the things that we saw on Sunday, and a lot of fans that are Dolphins fans who've been fans who are younger have never really seen anything like that. And I think for a lot of people that are older Dolphins fans that can remember the glory days of Marino and Greasy and Shula and the stuff we did in the 80s and 90s, we haven't seen that in the 2000s and the 2010s. We've never seen anything like that. And I think it's very, very important. And this is the best Dolphins team since those days. And it's just awesome. It's a great feeling having gone through all of those years with Gase and Philbin and, endless amounts of head coaches and coordinators. Flores, obviously, in more recent memory. It's just a great feeling. And I'm just happy that we have this team and just feel very lucky to have this team, especially being a Dolphins fan for as long as I have been. It's really nice to have a season like this. So let's get into the news you need to know about. Dolphins retain, this comes from Pro Football Rumors, Dolphins retain wide receiver Robbie Anderson to the practice squad. Excuse me. Which I'm glad that they did because he had such a good offseason with the team. But I think we saw on Sunday why he was cut in the first place. And why he's on the practice squad is because the Dolphins have a lot of depth at that position. River Craycraft, I've never been a fan of his. Even last year, I was like, okay, he made a couple of nice plays, but he didn't seem like someone who I would say even is an NFL starting level talent. But he has just gotten better ever since he's been a Dolphin. And he looked the best he's ever looked on Sunday, and he looked good in preseason as well. And he's a great blocker. He's a phenomenal route runner. And he's just a really nice playmaker that can play in the slot and can play on the outside if you need him to. So he's great. He's way better than I ever thought he'd be. Barrios is phenomenal. He's everything that we thought he would be, which is rare. Like sometimes we get free agents and they're like, this obviously hasn't worked out. But Barrios is real. He looked great. And so now I can totally see. I'm like, okay, now I understand why. And then, and not to mention Ezukama, who had a Deebo Samuel role in this game, which was really cool. I was like, that's how they're going to... They finally found a way to get him on the field, and it was awesome. And he contributed big time. And, things that he brings, he's a phenomenal run blocker. And what does he get really, really good at as a receiver? Run after the catch. How did they utilize him in the run game? So... It was like, okay, you could really see how Robbie just wasn't good enough to make the team, and that showed on Sunday. So that was one of the things that was really, it was kind of a head scratcher because we heard how good of an offseason he had Robbie Anderson or Chosen Anderson, and I was like, okay, so what is who are the people replacing him that much better? Because we weren't hearing about Craycraft in the offseason. But I think that those questions are answered on Sunday. And it's phenomenal how deep this team is at receiver. And it's nice to have slot receivers, for the love of God. Because last year we didn't have any of those. We didn't have any possession receivers. And it's very important. The 3rd and 15 catch, that's literally what a slot receiver does, is convert, move the chains, make tough catches on the sideline in the middle of the field. And we saw that multiple times between the both of them. Even Barrios, he had another tough catch in the middle of the field. It was a great throw by Tua, and obviously it was very tight coverage. And he comes down with the ball. We did not have that last year. That element to the game, and I think one other thing that helped the receivers in this game and the depth, and it was nice to see that, was the offense was opened up. And I think a lot of people are talking about that. But if you have actually watched this team every game, start to finish last year, you would really, really understand how much more opened up it was on Sunday. Like it looked like some of the motions, and it was very different than last year. And in preseason, the Dolphins ran a lot of the stuff they did last year. Like they ran a lot of those plays that they loved, that some of those actions they ran in the completely different in the regular season. So they really expanded it and opened it up, and really showcased some of those other players' talents. So moving on, this article from Pro Football Rumors, I just want to kind of add this in here. Isaiah Wynn, they were going through all the offseason acquisitions. Isaiah Wynn and Eli Apple, I think, deserve a shout out just really quick because I probably won't mention them again. Isaiah Wynn looked great. He looked really, really good. And Eli Apple played a lot better than I think a lot of us thought. Now, granted, the Chargers didn't have to pass the ball that much, but when they did, he was not a problem. He was very competent, and some of the stuff Fangio did in the secondary was really cool. And now the Chargers didn't have to throw the ball that much, but like I said, when they did, I thought we did a really good job of defending it, especially when it was in obvious passing downs. I think most of their good passing plays, they had a few nice third and short conversions, but when they were in third and long, for the most part, the Dolphins played really good defense, and which is what you should do. And they did not do that last year. Like, that was a really, really big problem, is on key downs, the Dolphins would give it up all the dang time, whether it was an awful play call or most of the time it was an awful play call. And I thought that was a very big difference from last year. And I just wanted to shout out Eli Apple and Isaiah Wynn. Very underrated acquisitions, but I thought they played really good on Sunday. This next news story, Dolphin. Now, this is something that Ian Rappaport, this comes from Pro Football Rumors, Ian Rappaport reported on from NFL.com, and Peter King did as well, that the Dolphins still might trade for Jonathan Taylor. It seems like the Packers are out, which if you watch Sunday's games, it kind of made, it's like, why would they even want him anyway? Because they have A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. But yeah, so this could still happen. After watching Sunday, Raheem again. Raheem is a lot better than I thought he would be. He's really good. So it's not like they need Taylor, but obviously adding anytime you add playmakers, I don't care how stacked your roster is, it's a positive thing. So if this still does happen, that's pretty cool. I love Jonathan Taylor's game. He's one of my favorite players in the NFL. I loved him coming out of Wisconsin. So if this trade still does happen, that's pretty awesome. But just some interesting news, especially this week, for people to be talking about it. It does make me mad that this deal couldn't get done before the season, because it's like, okay, if there's still a chance and they still want to get rid of him, then why didn't they do that already? But that's just because the Colts are weird. The Colts are super, super weird. So yeah, so it would be nice, but I don't think, from what we saw Sunday and in the preseason, I don't think it's a huge need. Raheem Mostert, obviously a lot has been made that he's gained a ton of weight. That showed in the game. Made a lot of really strong runs, finished runs strong, and was hard to bring down after contact, which is something that the team needs desperately, especially when they get into short yardage situations, because you can't throw the ball all the time. There are going to be moments where you have to run the football, and they need a running back who can make more than what is there, and he did that a few times, and he's got great vision, and I think the run game is better with the additions of Wynn, and obviously Alec Ingold, who's healthy. I think all the tight ends are better run blockers this year, so the run game is going to be better, and I don't think that's a huge need for the Dolphins. But if the trade still happens, then I think it's a good thing. So that's it for the news. We can get into this game, which I think was phenomenal. I mean, really was phenomenal. I want to start with the defense because I think that's the most interesting part of the game in a lot of ways. the run defense was interesting. There's a lot of ways you could look at this. One, Zach Sealer didn't play a lot of it in the preseason. Christian Wilkins didn't play at all in the preseason. And that could be a reason why the run defense was so bad, because they haven't got a lot of reps in recent memory. Chris Wilkins, if I'm correct about this, even held out in practice. So I'm hoping that was a factor in the run defense, because the Dolphins gave up a record rushing amount of rushing yards. They gave up 200. I'm sure you guys have heard the numbers many times since the game ended, but 234 yards rushing, which is unacceptable. It seemed like they were getting almost 10 yards a carry sometimes. It was very frustrating to watch, because I know how good that front is, and especially in the interior. Granted, they did run on the edges too. It wasn't like it was solely the interior's fault, but the interior, I think, is where it was the worst. And I hope it's because these two just haven't played that much, and they're just like, okay, this is like really the most action they've gotten in months, or weeks, I should say. So maybe that was the reason. Another one of the reasons, I think, because again, this is another stat that's been floating around. The Dolphins were 4th in run defense last year. Another reason why is because the game plan, especially the way we were lining up a lot of the time, seemed like we were more, we were trying to stop the pass, and that showed up a lot in this game. Even when the Chargers utilized play action, there was a few times Herbert had to scramble for the first down. So it did seem like the game plan was skewed to stopping the pass, which makes a lot of sense, because this was not a running football team last year. But they are more healthy up front, the Chargers. Rashawn Slater is one of the best players in the NFL. They have a really good offensive line, so they were able to play through them in this game. So it could be a multitude of different things. Eckler's a very good player as well. But I don't think, even the addition of David Long, who was not out there that much. It was a lot of Jerome Baker. Van Ginkel played a lot. It seemed like he played more than David Long, which was interesting. I hope it's those two things. I hope it was because of the game plan, and I hope it was because of, and I think really what it was the lack of playing time those two have gotten in the middle. Because I haven't seen Christian Wilkins not be a non-fat. The best thing he's done his entire career is stopping the run, and I've never seen a Dolphins game in recent memory where I hadn't seen Christian Wilkins. Now, he had a few TFLs in this game. It's still Christian Wilkins, but not like that. And especially with Sealer and Wilkins in the middle, I would never ever think anybody would run the ball like that on us. And Raekwon Davis as well. He had a couple of nice plays in this game, but I hope that's what it is just they're a little bit rusty, as opposed to this will be an issue going forward, which I don't think it will be. And I will say this, there was a really good game plan by the Chargers. A lot of their big runs came out of the shotgun, and they had a lot of different things. It wasn't just, we're handing the football off. They had a lot of different other actions. When the box was stacked, they would throw a screen out to Keenan Allen or Gerald Everett. They kept doing that a lot. So they had a lot of different looks off of the run, and it made it really harder to focus on one thing. And so I think the Chargers, it was a really good offensive game plan from them to really open up the run and not be super predictable and having to defend a lot of different things on one play. And you couple that with a really good offensive line, it's going to be tough to stop that. And you still have to worry about Herbert and the passing game when he had all of his receivers out there. I think it was a good game plan by them as well. But the point is I hope it's just because those two haven't played a lot. But I'm not overly concerned about it. So moving on from that, but again, some of the positives before we go back to the offense. Obviously, Jason Sanders misses the extra point, and I literally went to one knee when he missed that extra point. I think I almost I almost just disintegrated immediately when Tyreek Hill caught that touchdown, and Tua threw that. It was a perfect pass, and it was just a beautiful drive. And then Jason Sanders shanks an extra point. I crumbled. Devastating. Just more like it hurt. And especially with how that second half was going, and the entire game was like literally that way. So it was like, okay, well, this is not good. And I mean, first of all, there are so many little things that happened on that last drive. First, them taking forever to call intentional grounding was like the most classic Dolphins moment of all time, where it was like, okay, of course we're not going to get a flag in a big moment. And, Mike is freaking out. He's throwing a clipboard. The entire defense is freaking out. I'm freaking out. I think all the fans at home are freaking out. Finally, they throw the flag, which I don't know what the heck that was about. It was the most obvious intentional grounding of all time. And we get the call, and then Jalen Phillips, there were multiple moments in this game. I think he had 7 pressures in total. But the third down in the red zone, he pressures Herbert. Beautiful coverage. It was a beautiful play call by Vic on the back end. And then Jalen Phillips cashed in on that with a pressure. I love Jalen Phillips, but he that was a great rush right there. So Herbert ended up having to throw it away. They settled for 3, which shut us up taking the 2-point lead. Should have been a 3-point lead if Jason Sanders didn't miss the extra point. But Jalen Phillips came alive in the fourth quarter. Then he gets he was in I wouldn't say he got the sack on second down, but the entire defensive line comes alive, which was really nice to see in a big moment. The playmakers making plays. And then on the fourth down, Tua or Herbert completes. It was like, I believe, second or 3rd and 30, I believe. Maybe it was like 3rd and 25. Herbert finds Mike Williams over the middle, and it sets up a 4th and 13, I believe, which hurt. I was like, that sucks. As soon as he completed that pass, I was like, all right, now it's a more convertible 4th down, obviously. And Herbert, in his career, has a phenomenal 4th down conversion rate for a quarterback. And we've seen this all year last year with this defense. In big moments, 4th and goals, 4th downs, 3rd and really longs, especially against Buffalo, and even against the Chargers last year. This defense did just something would happen if it was a bad defensive play call, or it was a busted coverage, or we just didn't get any pressure, the quarterback flushes out of the pocket because we couldn't make the play on a sack, whatever the heck it was. We just couldn't get off the dang field. And in this moment, okay, it just beautiful, and I mean a beautiful defensive play call by Vic Fangio, a really cool designed blitz. He clearly had been seeing what they were doing in pass protection the entire game. Saved this play for a great moment because we needed it really bad, and just drew up a phenomenal play defensively. And Justin Bethel, I believe, was the one on the blitz. And just the entire defense with a phenomenal. And then, if you guys were watching the game, for some reason it kind of cuts out. But you could see Jalen Phillips was going in for the sack, and just a beautiful moment. There was a nice little shot of Vic, and this is just kind of, maybe I'm crazy, but he kind of gets up and smiles and picks up the clipboard, and I'm like, it's like, all right, bro, this dude's this is why we brought you here, and this is why you're Vic Fangio. Is a moment like that, and making a play like that, and just to see Vic, who's this kind of curmudgeon Eeyore type of a dude, kind of have it wasn't over the top celebration, but just kind of a subtle smile, and picks up the clipboard yeah, dude, that's why I'm who I am. And that was cool. But just a phenomenal moment, and Jalen Phillips is the real deal. Really awesome sequence by Vic Fangio. Completely, if Josh Boyer was calling the defense, it would have been the same defense the entire game. They would have continued to punish it, and he would never have changed. But Vic constantly changing what he was doing on the back end. Really cool concepts, like putting Xavier Howard in press coverage on one side of the field, and then on the other side of the field is zone. Just changing it up constantly. A lot of people are like, oh, I hope we're not just going to sit in soft zone all the time. And he didn't do that. Like, he constantly gave the quarterback different looks on the outside, and which was cool. So I think for Vic's debut, obviously 34 points isn't what you would want from it, but I thought Vic did phenomenal. Like, it wasn't Vic's fault that they scored 34 points. And I thought Vic did a really, really good job, and hats off to the defense. And Kader Kohou, that was a phenomenal drawn-up play. Vic's really good at, like, figuring out what you're doing from a pass protection standpoint. I hate you saying standpoint. It actually makes me... I hate when people say standpoint and give that man his flout. Anytime someone says those words, I honestly just don't want to listen to them anymore. But I'm sorry I have to use it. Standpoint. Anyway, from a pass protection standpoint, he just figures out what the other team's doing and exploits it, as opposed to what we did last year, just sending the entire defense, which isn't very smart. It's just like, we have more people than you can block. That's about as dumb as it gets. But Vic, different way of blitzing, figures out and breaks your pass protection in really cool ways. And he did that multiple times in this game, and the Kader Kohou is another great example of that. And shout out to Kader, another subtle thing. A lot of defensive players, when they blitz, they just kind of run at the quarterback. He did have a nice little hesitation waiting for Herbert to make a move, and then Kader made his move for the sack, which really good technique by Kader Kohou on finishing the play. But yeah, Vic is great. Jalen Phillips is great. Bradley Chubb, I would like to look at the numbers. But first of all, I love watching those two together. And I love Christian Wilkins. I think it's a nice, really good trio that I was really excited to watch. But their offensive line is just really good. Like, they're going to make plays too. And that's what makes it even more special, that the Dolphins defense was able to kind of dominate the offensive line. Not kind of, dominated their pass protection on the last drive. There were like 4 Dolphins in the backfield. And that's not a slouch of an offensive line. It's a really, really good offensive line. And for them to be able to do that is special. So I think I've talked about the defense enough. But, I mean, it was just a great moment, man. I mean, for them to come through like that in a big game. And honestly, probably, other than Tua making crazy, just insane throws. And I still have not taken my Tua jersey off since that game has ended. I'm probably going to take it off after this, or maybe tomorrow. But it means a lot to me as a Dolphins fan, because that is what I think we've all waited to see. And that brings us to the offense. I mean, it's just a special performance. Like, it means so much, over the years, people were saying, for years and years, saying this team is searching for the next Dan Marino ever since he retired. We did an entire podcast about here are the 5 greatest Dolphins quarterback seasons since Marino retired, and it was hard to find those. Like, there were some really bad seasons, and there's a lot of really bad quarterbacks the Dolphins went through. I mean, we could talk about this for years, for days on end, but that was kind of the curse and the mantra over the franchise for a long time. And not being able to find that guy. And to see a performance like that, with off-the-charts quarterback play, I don't think Tua is getting enough credit for some of the throws he made in that game. The 3rd and 15 to Berrios, I mean, that was a perfect throw. Like, it could not have been more perfect. He played a perfect game. He really, really did. I think, to me, he was the best performer of the game. I know everybody is talking about Tyreek, which they should. He's one of the best Dolphins ever. He's quickly climbing my all-time favorites, and so is Tua. But Tua, I think, is more important to me as a fan of the Dolphins, because that performance means something to the franchise. It means something to all of those years of being in purgatory. Of quarterbacks, and constantly wanting that, and just to see that performance, it meant so much. It really, really did. It was such a special performance. His name is up there with Marino in 400-yard passing games. It just means a lot. That performance means so much. from the quarterback position, for all of the reasons I just said, and just haven't seen anything like that since Dan Marino. Like, literally have not seen anything like that since Marino. I've been covering this team on just in that short amount of time for a long time too, obviously too as well. And we have since I've been. I mean, it's not even close. Like, Tua is a special player. He really is. He's since he became a Dolphin, has had throughout his career really, really good performances, and this is one of them. He's never looked this good. And made a lot of really nice down the field throws. I think some people have pointed out, there was a couple throws there. The pick doesn't bother me at all. That play, it was a weird play, but I was like, all right, whatever. I mean, he's, it's kind of in the flow of the game. I felt like it wasn't like a terrible read. It is what it is. J.C. Jackson made a play. But the other plays where people are, he missed tight. It did not. To me, I would have to go back and look at the coach, for the top view film or the coach's film of it to really see what those, because the TV copy of the game where he throws, those had a couple tip by Michael Davis. It's like I would like to see what the coverage was and. From what Tua saw and from what it actually looked like, because it was hard to tell. It didn't really seem like he missed anybody, in my opinion. But I don't even want to talk about that because it's a phenomenal performance. Like a really, really one of the best performances I've seen by a quarterback, and not just a Dolphins uniform, but in any uniform in a long time. So just a great performance. I mean, just so many great moments, like constantly answering the bell. The Barrios throw, the one where he stepped up into the pocket on a dead sprint, great throw to Tyreek Hill. And it's funny, it's like people, he can't throw the deep ball. And that's all he did in this game, is make tough throws down the field. And it's like, I just wish people would be like, I was wrong. Like, he can make those throws. And people are like, he can't make the high-level throws. Everybody's always wide open in the Mike McDaniel offense. You know how many times he fit a ball in a tight window in this game? And where the ball had to be perfect, and it was every single time. He just doesn't. I just wish people were like, yeah, I was wrong about that. I feel like we needed to line people up and just say that they were wrong about him. That's what I wanted to happen. Obviously, that's not going to happen, but that's what I wanted to happen. But yeah, just a great performance. And then Tyreek Hill. Shout out to Jalen for having 4 receptions for 78 yards. Just the quietest, 78 yards of anybody's career with 19 yards a catch, which was awesome. Jalen Waddle, we love him to death. But Tyreek Hill, one of the best Dolphins of all time. I'm already going to say that. I don't think it's even close of a debate. He's probably going to retire. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't remember how long Tyreek Hill said he's going to play. But he could finish as the all-time Dolphins receiving leader. He's just one of the best Dolphins ever already, and his performance in this game, dominant. One of the best athletes to ever put on a Dolphins uniform. One of the best, athletes to play in South Florida for sure. I think he's up there with some of the greats. So. Just phenomenal, and I don't know what else to really say. It was nice to see him. A lot of people have brought up the fact that the team they ran a lot of press coverage last year on the Dolphins, and to me, and it was great to see this specifically. Him fry Michael Davis like he did, and J.C. Jackson, who's a former Patriot. That was awesome. I mean, they really thought. I don't know how disrespectful that they had to get. And another thing I want to say before we move on, a lot of people are like, why did they play so much single coverage? To the Chargers' credit, they played every Tua even said it after the game, they played every coverage that we've ever seen on film from them, and they did. They tried to rush 3, didn't matter. They tried to blitz, didn't matter. They tried to rush 4, didn't matter. They tried to, they did everything you could do as a defense, didn't matter. The Tua, and that's another great, another reason why Tua's performance was so special is because they did so many things on defense, and he always had an answer for it. And that's always a sign of a great quarterback. It just did everything that they did. They could not stop our offense, and I haven't seen in years. That was special. But yeah, Tyreek Hill's phenomenal. I thought the run game, when you look at the stats, it's 10 carries for 37 yards. He averaged under 4 yards a carry. It didn't seem like that watching the, like when I read that didn't seem right. I was like, that's weird. I thought that we ran it more successful than that, which I think is more important, is the eye test was better than that. So, I don't know. I thought that was weird reading that stat line. Shout out to Durham Smythe as well. He made a lot of really nice plays in this game. Yeah, just all around. And, everybody was talking about the Chargers defense because they were healthy. I mean, Derwin James was the only one really making plays out there, but and that didn't matter. I mean, none of it. And before we even, I forgot to even bring this up, but Kendall Lamb played great. He played really, really good. Isaiah Wynn played really, really, really good. And I think the biggest news is Kendall Lamb. And, Omar Kelly has talked about Kendall Lamb a lot in the offseason. And he lived up to the hype of the offseason, which is very rare. I could probably count on one hand the amount of times that's happened with offseason hype. And Kendall Lamb he's on that hand. He looked really, really good. And that's very important because we probably will lose Armstead again at some point in the season. Hopefully he can come back against New England. But because that's, New England's a different animal because, it's Bill Belichick. So hopefully we can get him back for that game. I'm excited for that game too because the last time we played him in Gillette, we had people wide open, but none of our quarterbacks could hit him because it was Teddy Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. Anyway, I don't even remember. That game made me sick to my stomach because of how dumb we played in that game. But from the quarterback position, and it's another reason. It's like the drop off from Tua to the other guys. That's another reason how great he is. And anyway, I think we covered everything. I don't think we talked about the offensive line. Shout out to Alec Ingold. I think we talked about everything. Just a great team. Mike McDaniel's awesome. Vic Fangio's awesome. Defense, I think, will be better. We have to be better against the run, that's for sure. But defense will be better. But run defense, in a lot of ways, is like the most important part of the game because you need to get people in third down, 5+ on a more consistent basis, and the only way to do that is play good run defense. And if you can run the ball, then you're never going to be in third and long. So that I think will be better because the guys in the middle and on the front are very talented, and I think that will be figured out. I'm not really too concerned. That was the only concerning thing. A lot of the things that we were concerned about were answered in this game in a positive way, which was good. And I don't think any of us saw the run defense with all the guys out there looking like that. And again, this is a defense that ranked 4th in the NFL in run defense. So I'm not too concerned about it. I think that will be fixed. But what a game! What a big moment for the Dolphins fans. And yeah, awesome. So that is it. Hope you guys enjoyed. I can't wait I'm going to watch this game again, probably multiple times. And I'll see you guys in the next one.